What's good, everybody? This is Drew, and you are?
Well, my name is Drew as well.
Oh, really? This must be the Burnout.
Drew, in my honest opinion, I think every solid series has a lost episode out there. Unfortunately, we got ours out of the way the first episode. I would like to
Yeah.
say that this is episode one, but this is episode two of the Burnout. So somewhere out there is a long lost episode one of the Clash.
Yes.
Um, what's been going on since?
Well, we had the Daytona 500 2 Sundays ago, won by Ricky Stenhouse Jr., my current favorite driver. I was there in attendance, and it was exhilarating. It was awesome. It was amazing. It was any other word that you can think of that means good and ends with ing. So you know, I don't have much to complain about there. The experience was awesome. The experience was great. Sat one row from the top of the track. Knew where they entered turn one. Had a great view, especially when the lights went out without the sun. Air Force flyover show. I mean, it was really a show that wasn't even a flyover. I mean, they did all kinds of stuff. It was just awesome. How about you?
Yeah, not my finest week ever. I got COVID. Wasn't able to make it down there, but
Hmm.
watching the couch. But all in all, I could say it was solid. It was a pretty good experience on TV. I can imagine how good it was on person.
Well, how was the experience on TV?
Honestly, wasn't bad. People will complain a lot, which is
Right.
typical for NASCAR. Booth was good. Tony Stewart was really good. I wish he was around full time. I think Harvick's going to be really good next year. It's going to suck not to see him on track,
Yeah,
but
Mike Joy is good as well. It's the third member there that I have my issues with myself. But I mean, maybe you don't, maybe other people don't. That's just me.
yeah, I really don't hate Boyer, to be honest with you. I just, it's weird. Like he'll go from being like hyped and excited one minute, all of a sudden you'll see a car flipping over like Newman in the early 2000s or even Newman in 2020. And I'll just be like, oh, they're flipping. Oh well.
Well, yeah,
Um,
and I've watched Larson crash again on after the race and heard his call. It's like, oh, he's in the wall. It's like, really, dude, really. Be more upset that Stenhouse won, will you?
and
Kidding
then
on that.
you got MRN that they could be too wide and they're absolutely losing their minds. Acting
Yes,
like it could be lap three, they're acting like it's lap 199. They're about to take the white flag.
but
MRN
my
is awesome.
true. But my other complaint on Boyer is that he will say one thing, the opposite will happen, and then he'll be like, "Yeah, I knew that was going to happen."
I haven't really caught on to that, honestly. Try my best not to pay attention to broadcasts. I'm more into listening to radio.
I like
Unfortunately,
to argue with him.
I have YouTube TV stream, so my radio is typically a minute ahead of what's about to happen. So I kind of got a bit of an idea. Um, so yeah, I try my best not to listen to the TV, but every now and then it's kind of nice to hear a little bit of guidance. Um, but no, getting back to what we're talking about, the booth really isn't my complaint. It was the commercials. It was really hard to get into it and really focus on the race with the amount of commercials there were.
How many do you think there were?
There were quite a bit. I can give you an example. I can't remember exactly what lap it was, but they came back from a full screen commercial. Ran four green flag laps and went right back to a commercial. It was
Wow.
it was rough. And I understand why we're doing it. It's how the networks make their money, and it's a good thing to have all those commercials. It means
Big
people are
business.
paying money to be seen by us fans, which at the end of the day, that's what we are. We're one big marketing company. We just happen to drive fast cars and yeah, and turn left and right now because there's 45 million road courses on the schedule.
Yeah, too many, way too many. And street courses now. I mean, let's just throw in everything.
Yeah.
Anything to coax Jimmy Johnson out of retirement.
Yeah, how was
because that
that
helps
down
the
there?
ratings.
How was that down there? Did you see a bunch of, um, Johnson a lot of 84s down there? 84 shirts?
Honestly, I kind of did. I mean, there weren't like hundreds, but there was enough that you paid attention to it. I mean, I was the only one wearing a 47 shirt in the stands that I
Yeah.
saw.
I
Um,
remember you making that comment on the way out. You said, "That
yeah,
guy's got a" yeah, you said that guy saw you and say, "Hey, that guy's got a 47 shirt on."
yep, I sure did. I heard a couple of different people make comments. But yeah, there was some 84 stuff down there. Nothing quite like the 9 and the 5 and the 8 had some stuff. A lot of people still wearing the leftover M&M stuff too. Um,
I'll be taking my stuff to the Racing Warehouse. I've got a collection of Joe Gibbs rad. Like how I gave them a little plug on there. If we get the Racing Warehouse sponsorship on here, that'd be great. But I've got a whole stack of Gibbs clothing and M&M's pit shirts that I've or and Interstate Battery shirts that I have in my closet right now. I've got to take up there and get rid of and trade out for some RCR stuff. Speaking of which, did you buy yourself a 84 T-shirt while you're up there?
Absolutely not.
Well, I assumed you were a big Chad Knaus and Jimmy Johnson fan, so
No.
I just had to ask. Um, but yeah, the experience tonight it had to be awesome.
Oh yeah.
It's been 2 years for you since you've seen one on TV, and let's be honest, that 2021 race wasn't exactly a nail biter. I mean, the finish was awesome, but I mean, they trained for what seemed like the whole entire race.
Right.
And being 100% honest, that was the biggest fear that I had going down there, especially with the new car
Yeah.
last year. I was petrified that we were going to see just an embarrassment of race. And fortunately, we were treated to a really good one. And this year, they seem just as racier. In
Yes.
all honesty, I mean, yeah, tell me if you
The
agree with
MRN even made the comment, we've had 20 when the race started, we've had 20 high-speed pace laps because the entire field was still side by side, and Connor Daly and BJ McLeod hadn't lost the draft yet either. So it was pretty outstanding to watch.
big BJ fans on here. No, honestly, I would love to get a smaller team on here at some point. Cup Series truck, sorry,
Yeah, I
Cup
wasn't taking a shot
Xfinity
at either
truck.
one of them. They're just the two that consistently lost the draft.
Yeah, that is true. I hear Derek Nealon on the radio, black lapper up top, and you generally can imagine that's BJ McLeod or a purple lapper being the 15, 51, 50, whatever red wear car
Yeah,
is on there. But
the 50 was in its own class of behind the pace. Sunday, BJ did have some mechanical issues, had to go behind the wall and actually finish behind the 50, but the 50 was in its own class. It was in its own league um, in terms of slowness in the 500.
now let me ask you this. I know what I was feeling personally down there, and I was a little bit nervous, to say the least, about it. With the safety concerns we had last year, were you worried at all that we might see a train the same way we've seen in years past, just from the idea of drivers
Over
getting hurt?
safety? No,
Yeah,
no, not at all. That never entered my mind. Actually, I hadn't even thought about that till you just said it.
yeah, and it kind of went out the window at the Clash, which I mean, those guys, I mean, showed their asses like big time down there. But I don't know, just something in the back of my mind. I don't know. Fortunately, that didn't happen at all. I mean, they were balls to the wall the whole time, which was really good to see. Now, take me through your experience like the very end there with that Kyle Busch and Austin Dillon teammate restart with William
Uh,
Byron.
okay. Yeah, I can kind of. So the Chevys were building momentum. You had the 17 and the 6 up there, which I actually predicted Keselowski was going to win. But the more you watched it, the more you kind of was like, yeah, neither one of these two are going to win. It's just a matter of time when they pull out. And you don't want them to pull out in the last lap because then it screws it up for everybody else behind. So you just want a good race. So I think they pulled out with 3 to go. Maybe it was 4. It was before 2. Um, and and I'm talking about Bush and Dillon and then Byron, the Chevrolet group. They had they pulled out and passed them, but I was paying attention to the 47, of course, because he and the 22 were hooked onto that. I mean, he's a Chevy too, so I mean, he was hooked on there with him, and you know he's not just going to ride back there. And the 5 as well was around. So when let's see, when the top 3 there moved from behind the 17 and the 6, and Bush went to the lead. Dylan, to be honest with you, the crowd where I was at, they knew it what happened, and they weren't upset about it at all. I think Kyle's got a lot more support at RCR than he did at Gibbs. And the Brady, I mean, they were really hyping Kyle the entire race, the track PA, and so it just felt really special when he took the lead. You know, it felt like really like you're about to witness history. I was of course watching the 47. He made the move with him, and I was like, "Oh yeah, he's coming now." So, crash happens in the back with Suarez and the spin. Caution comes out. Um, then they go back to green, and I wasn't paying attention to the crash at all. This is the crash where Dylan spins and Bush loses the lead actually to Stenhouse. I was paying attention um to the 47, and uh, all this huge crash happens. Everybody's paying attention to that, and I'm just smiling and I'm pointing and I'm just having a ball because I knew who was leading the race. No one else did really because they didn't care. They were watching the wreck, and then I remember turning and my dad. My dad was sitting up there with me. He went with me in your absence. He benefited. I looked at my dad and I said, "Oh boy, look who's leading the race." And he asked me, "Who's leading?" I said, "Just wait till they come by." And and then I started clapping, and then I saw the 84 come by, and I said, "Even better," and clapped some more. Um, honest experience here, y'all. And I'm a rambler, so I'll shut up in just a second. But anyway, so then they restarted again. I really thought Stenhouse was going to get screwed, and I thought he did when he moved down the block Larson when Logano had all the momentum. But thank goodness the caution came out right at the perfect time before Logano could pass him. I was watching the whole time, so I was like, I know Logano didn't pass him. I know he never got around him. He was never ahead of him. So I knew Stenhouse had won the race. But you never, ever count your chickens before they hatch, especially after that Xfinity race the day before. You just don't know.
Let me ask you, did you know before like I said, my radio, I can't really get a feel for how the radio matches up on the phone as opposed to at the track. Did you know before I sent you that text that he got it? Or did
Yeah,
you find out through that
yeah,
text?
yeah. No, it was uh, by the time you probably type it out, they announce it. So I'm not saying it's that far behind or if any at all, but by the time you type it out, they've already announced it to the crowd, or at least that's what happened on that front.
I thought for sure that they were going to find a way to screw Ricky Stenhouse. I
Well,
don't
I
think we're
did
good.
too. I totally thought it was. That's why you see, you just never know with NASCAR. Especially, I really, really thought they were going to screw Michael McDowell in 2021. Yeah.
One.
So, um, I but so in the back of my head, I was like, if they didn't screw him for Elliott, they're not going to screw Ricky for Joey. But I mean, you never know.
Yeah. I don't know. I was really impressed with the 500 all in all. It was very racy and honestly, with the exception of the demolition derby that was the clash. I mean, we've been fortunate to watch 3 solid weeks of racing
Yes,
this season. I can say that now because Kyle Busch has been running well and
yes.
I'm ecstatic.
With Kyle winning, and I know you weren't there, so but let's hear your take on that.
What with Daytona
No, with
or
Auto
Fontana?
Club,
Yeah.
walk us through it. Your emotions.
Oh, I'm not gonna last it the
Were
last
you
25
pacing the
laps.
floor?
Yeah, was standing the last 25 laps. Same way I did at Bristol. Well, like I said, my radio it was like a minute behind, or sorry, a minute ahead last year at Bristol. Dirt, and I heard Hirschman say, keep coming," and I was like, "Oh yeah, something just happened." Same thing I did at Pocono 2021. every single race that I've sat down and watched since I really got back into NASCAR about 2016. Every single race that Kyle, with the exception of when he's gone through and absolutely kicked ass, like just been class of the field. I've been standing up. Um, Yesterday was no different. I was waiting for a caution to come out. I was waiting for him to blow a tire. Something was going to happen, and it didn't. I was ecstatic. Um, he just seems different. He's so. It's weird to say. It seems different. I think RCR kind of was refreshing to him. I hate to say. I hate the saying. A motivated athlete. You know what I mean? Like I've
Mhm.
heard the common thing you hear it as a motivated Kyle Busch. I also hear, and I don't know if anybody that listens to this cares about UFC at all, but you hear about a motivated Conor McGregor, and I hate that saying. I mean, Kyle Busch is competitive as hell. Every time he's going out there, he's going to try to he's going to try to win. But something clicked this year. I don't know if it's this 8 team is just that good or if RCR as a whole has just stepped their game up, but something that's clicked and he just seems like a different driver. I made the comment yesterday, these past 3 races, he has had a chance to win. And it seems like 2018 Kyle Busch, to be honest with you. We could be in for a long year. Not we, but everybody else could be in for a long year if this is just the tip. Those ECR engines were tuned up yesterday, and
Right.
Fontana is definitely a track you can
Uh,
showcase that power. I mean, I
yeah.
honestly nobody nobody really outran him yesterday. I mean, Ross had a really good car in stage one and stage two, but I made the comment as
You,
well
you
yesterday.
you
Randall
know,
Burnett
I'm
tuned that
gonna
Joker up.
I'm gonna veer off and I'll make a extreme uh, left turn here, right turn, whatever you want to call it.
Left turns NASCAR
Do
podcast.
you think it's right? And I know this has been going on for literally years at this point, almost a decade, honestly. But do you think it's right that Ross Chastain scored more points yesterday than Kyle Busch? I saw that today, and I was just like, it almost makes me visibly sick to see the
Kyle
leader
Busch,
score less points because someone led lap 80.
Kyle Busch is sitting eighth in points right now, and I think Stenhouse is sitting. What is Stenhouse in now?
Well, I'm just saying,
Seventh,
I
ninth?
don't think these stages you get the playoff point, sure, but should they? I mean, should you really get? Should you, if you should you at any point be able to score more points than the winner of the race because you led lap 80 and lap 120? Just throwing numbers out here. Um, to me, that is not right, and that should not be.
Well, as a thing which we talked about earlier, is those commercials. It's an opportunity to get more commercials in and a chance
Right,
to.
but should that mean points? Should the win be? Maybe the win should be worth an automatic 50 points. That way, that doesn't happen or something. Put a real emphasis on winning. I know they're automatically locked in, but they're really not if there's more than 16 winners. Ricky has to worry about that. But I don't know. I'll leave this for another day.
I don't know.
I did want to point out about the 8 car though. The 8 was very stout at Auto Club last year with Tyler Reddick before he hit the
Yes.
wall. So you know, I'm just I'm cautiously optimistic for Kyle, but he had a lot of speed last year, but there were some weeks when that car was off still. It was still typical. I mean, RCR the last 15 years. So well, I think we got to watch a little bit more before we get too excited. 2018 level, Kyle.
We'll see. I'll remember that. I will. Um, on the subject of the stages, that's
Although
a
I will say, I don't
whole
think that
other can of
Tyler was
worms.
very fast at Las Vegas last year, but this is Kyle's home track. He's going to be fast no matter what he's driving next week. But anyway, go ahead.
Well, let's be honest, or let's have the discussion here. Who's the better driver, Tyler Reddick or Kyle Busch?
Well, no one can argue for Tyler Reddick in this situation.
Now you can't tell me that Kyle Busch hasn't. I mean, you can see it. Has he's elevated RCR, and we've seen it 3 races in. He's
Well,
elevated RCR.
right. Well. I'm not sold on that yet.
I think so. I really do. It just I don't know, man. Just
We'll see. I hope so.
hearing every
We'll see.
hearing everything and just seeing the way those guys like I'll give you an example. They went Saturday, obviously there was no track action, everything I canceled. Those guys went out to K1 speed, the 8 team and yeah, the 8 team went out there and they went out there and raced with each other. And I can't say that I've ever seen that happen at Gibbs. I mean, that's just,
No, no, no.
chemistry building.
Do
Um
you think Gibbs gave him the worst equipment last year?
uh from a conspiracy theorist, I don't think he was getting
I am. I
the
think he was.
grade A stuff. I think he was getting
I think he was getting grade D stuff.
I don't he was the I don't think he was getting the best in there. I
I
think
think Bell got the best.
they
Hamlin
put
2,
all their
Truex 3.
stock in the 11 at first, and then I think the 11 and the 20. I think.
Yeah.
I mean, you just don't blow up 2 races in the first round at Darlington. And I can remember to this day going on or him blowing up just in the under a yellow, just absolutely blowing up. And what's funny is I was laughing at all the Chase fans upset because Chase had his issue 100 something laps earlier, and then Kyle Busch just blows up for absolutely no reason.
Karma always finds a way back.
Yeah, it does. And I remember Lambert told Denny that he missed a shift. No, he just randomly blew up under caution. And everybody's saying, "Oh, he missed a shift. Oh, why would you be shifting under caution? That makes no sense." And then at Bristol, what happens? Another blown engine. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not going to sit here and say that they were intentionally sabotaging him. He definitely wasn't getting grade A equipment. On top of that, they sent Bubba and Ty back out there to. That's a whole nother story. Anyway, yeah, no, it's no comment. On the subject of Chase Elliott, though, and Hendrick Motorsports, I was actually kind of impressed with Chase yesterday. And honestly, kind of turning a leaf on. I'm not gonna lie to you. If this last episode ever makes it out there, y'all gonna hear me spew some Chase hate, kind of. Um, Chase ran really well yesterday. Chase, what started in the was it the very back?
I felt like he slept walked to a second place finish yesterday.
He was definitely I'm not gonna say he was close to Kyle in terms of second best. Like I think Kyle was A plus, and I think Chase was like solid A in terms of good car and run all day. But he ran really well. Um,
I think if the 19 wouldn't had his problems, he would have been someone to deal with.
yeah, which surprised you said that. Um, I don't know. All in all, man, Chase really impressed me, and it wasn't just the interview. That he ran well every day or ran well the whole day. I don't know if it's the fact that Kyle Busch is in a Chevy now, and I'm starting to grow on the Chevys, become anti Toyota, or what it is. But he ran pretty well yesterday. And do let me ask you this, and this is going to be another left turn. Larson grew on me a little bit too. Um, they both had some really good comments about Kyle Busch. And I'd hate to ask this because if anybody actually listens to this thing, we're going to get NASCAR canceled. Has Larson hit his peak already? Have we seen the best of Kyle Larson?
Uh, in terms of wins per season, probably so. In terms of pure talent wise, probably not. That doesn't. It's not going to make sense to a lot of people what I mean. But what I'm saying is just because you win a lot of races one season doesn't necessarily mean that is your when you were at the top of your game. It just means your car was tuned up good. You had some stuff fall your way, and the package might just fit you. I think his peak talent wise is still 2 to 3 years from now. You know, I don't know his age to be quite honest with you, but it's somewhere between 32 and 38. It seems to be for NASCAR drivers. And I don't even know if he's 32 yet. He may be, but I mean, of course, that's just typical drivers. Some people peak at 18, some people peak at 81. So I mean, you don't really can't really tell. Harry Gant peaked at 50 something in NASCAR,
Kyle
but
Larson is 30.
he's 30. Yeah, I think his peak talent wise is still upon us, but I don't think he's ever going to win 8 or 9 races a year again. I don't think NASCAR's set up that way right now.
No, that's kind of what I was getting at. I don't know if this car is really gonna hurt him. Um, yeah, I mean, it was. I'm not gonna lie, man, it was bad. I mean, the same way you felt about Jimmy Johnson in the mid 2010s, in the
Oh,
or
yes.
the yeah, it was the same way that I felt about Kyle Larson. Like, I can remember sitting on my couch, sitting there saying, "I don't even wanna watch this race. I already know what's gonna happen." The joy that I had on my face when, Larson at Pocono at that first Pocono race in 2021 blew that tie. The only thing that could've made that race any better is if it was Kyle Busch in 2nd instead of 3rd. But I was ecstatic, man. I was man, it was awesome.
Alex Bowman, do you think I think it's curious that Ally signed him for 4 years and he only signed him for two. So, just move on, I guess.
So, this is something else that's been talked about on other podcasts. Denny Hamlin mentioned this on his sponsorship, sponsorship. Drivers that bring sponsorship getting opportunities over those that don't.
Yeah,
Obviously, it takes money to race, but I'm not sitting here saying that Bowman's a hack, no pun intended. Um, but I mean, let's be honest.
it's been a year since he last won now, and
Yes,
that was on tire strategy.
yes. So
It wasn't even that he had like Eric Jones at Darlington, things just fell in his lap. This is on tire strategy.
So what happens, like, at what point do we start valuing talent over sponsorship?
When William Byron starts winning a lot more, which will happen.
I've said it, I can very well see that. I've said it a couple times over the summer. I wish Kyle Busch's contract would have ended this year instead of last year. Could you imagine the pins and needles that those, William Byron and Alex Bowman would have been on had Kyle Busch been up this year?
Oh, I predicted that was what was going to happen anyway. So I
I
figured
was
they were going to
hoping, man.
release Bowman,
I
a
was
la
hoping.
Steve Park, Jeff Green back in 2003, where they both got fired in the same weekend. I figured something like that was going to happen um, with the Gibbs and Bush and Bowman. It was going to happen before a year was even over, I guess. I don't know, but it didn't. He's signed a contract extension. I'm not trying to drag the guy, but I mean, the 5 and the 9 are just so much better than the other two. But the 24 is very consistent. But Bowman is consistently out of the top 10. I just don't get it.
Well, let's talk about this, and let's put our Hendrick hats on for the time being. I'm not gonna say you're a Hendrick fan by any
No,
means
because I'm
back
not.
in the day. Uh,
Well, back in the day, I was a everything but 48 fan, and I really didn't care for Junior until about 2011. So I was really
you just
just
got
a
us canceled.
24 and 25 fan. I always like the 25 car.
Well,
And when Terry Labonte was in the five, I could respect Mark Martin. So maybe the 24, 5, and 25 fan. The other cars I didn't care for.
I'm going to uncancel us. There was a picture of me circulating somewhere out there. My parents may have it. First grade career day, I dressed up as Dale Earnhardt Jr. because I wanted to be Dale Earnhardt Jr. when I got older. So hopefully that uncancels us.
I do
Um,
too, so I can be a almost billionaire.
Getting back to what I was saying, Hendrick is, I don't know what's changed, but I know back in the day, from what I've heard, and I wasn't paying attention to this stuff back then, is everything like the 24 and the 48 team, I almost weren't even teammates.
No,
I
they were
mean,
two different shops. They competed against each other. The 24 and the 5 were in a shop. No, no, no. This is what it was. The 24 and the 48 were in the same shop. Okay. And they were so much better than the 5, the 25, and which the 25 turned into the 88.
right.
Um, and then there was 5 cars. I can't recall the other number. Um, it may even be one they use now. It doesn't matter. The 24 and the 48 were so good, but then the 48 started doing so much better. They switched it. The 24, the 5, and the 88 did a 3-car switch. Basically, Gordon started driving the 5 car that they renumbered the 24. The 88 became the 24, but of course the numbers don't change, but everything else but the drivers and the number changed. The crew, the pit crew members, the shop, everything. So then it turned into the 24 and the 5 together, the 48 and the 88 together. Okay, Hendrick has always had a something where some of the cars sucked and some of them were good. Back in the day, Gordon would be contending for the points lead. Terry Labonte would be contending until he fell off. Well, basically until the 48 came. When the 48 came, the 5 was junk. The 25 was always junk. I mean, it was always junk. We're talking about 25th to 35th in the race, um, which, of course, that was the 88 car. Nowadays, it seems like that's coming back.
That's what I was getting at. It just, I don't know, man. It's the 5 and the 9 have something that those the 24 and 48 just don't have.
I just don't understand why I can't remember what that other car number was because there was 5 cars. I just cannot recall what the fifth one was.
So let me ask you this. In 2020, Jimmy Johnson's final season,
Hmm.
was Alan Gustafson just that much better than Cliff Daniels at that point, to where the
No,
time was just going out
no,
just
no,
dominating?
no. Chase Elliott was that much better than Jimmy Johnson.
That's fair at that point. Yes, that's
Chase
very fair.
Elliott, well, I'm not going to go there. Chase, Chase would do, I think they need to do another crew chief shakeup. How about that? I think Chase would benefit greatly from that.
What would you like to see?
Would I like to see?
Yeah.
I would like to see, I like to see, well, I don't know. There's no reason to change him. I just think that Elliott as a crew chief move away from being elite driver, maybe approaching 10 wins a season. Um, but also at the same time, the only crew chief that would need moving with the 48, and they just changed crew chief, so there's nothing there. Um, uh, so you know, I don't
I
know.
don't know, man. I mean, you're preaching to the choir. I mean, I shout out to Ben Bayshore for the win last night with John Hunter Nemechek. But I mean, I would have loved
Speaking
to
of
have
that,
Alan
that
Gustafson
race last
win.
night, I got 2 points I want to make here. Number one, that track was so disgusting with all the trash on it because of, I guess, all the people that had left. They left their trash. The wind was just blowing it onto the track. I mean, that was just debris filled. Number two, you have a free race, the final race at your so beloved track that sold out, even though it didn't nowhere look like sold out on TV. You have a 45-minute wait. It was probably free. I don't know that, but I'm assuming the final race at this beloved track, and there's probably 10,000 people in attendance, probably 30 to 40,000 people filed out of the grandstands. Come on. Come on.
I'm not gonna lie, man. I had
It
a
was
hard
cold.
time
I get
watching
it.
that. I had a hard time watching that Xfinity race, but I was also so adrenaline up from that win that I was just all over the place. Um, I don't know. I think I really can't give you an answer as to why it was. I get it. I get it was cold, but I mean, still,
The last race.
the last race. I mean, you hit the nail on the head, man. It didn't like there was 100 people in those stands on TV. I mean, it was like barren, which the cup crowd looked great. I heard actually saw on Twitter that apparently it was sold out, but
What happens? What happens now? NASCAR sold. I heard from I can't remember if it was Bob Pockrass or Jeff Gluck. 80% of that land out there has been sold. What happens now? Do we build the short track? What happens?
Who knows? I mean, seriously, I don't know.
now
I think they
I've
should just
heard
race at Bakersfield or Irwindale, and if people in California want to go to the race, they'll go to one of those two. I mean, I don't know what
So
the distance is, but I mean, they're not near Sonoma. Their short track's already built. Uh, Upgrade them, buy them. NASCAR's got plenty of money. They just got $1 billion. No, 100 million, not a billion. 100 million from the land sale.
so the rumor that I heard and Door Bumper Clear um was talking about this on their episode today. Irwindale's also been sold.
Who bought it?
So I think it was for land.
Ah, oh, okay.
That might be misinformation. We might have to fact check that, but that's going off of what they've said on their podcast. Um, so that leads me to this. Also heard from Denny, and also heard from Bumper Clear. What are your thoughts on a potential point race at the Coliseum?
No,
I feel the same way. Let me ask you this:
I love
points
chaos,
race.
but that's just too. They they don't run enough green flag laps for chaos to ensue. Number one, because it's always someone in 29th place, and number two, then you're going to have too many cars on the track because you're going to add another 10 cars on top of what was out there for the clash, if 10 to 13, I guess. And that's just too many. Another thing, the clash does not need that many cars in it. We need to make it for pole winners only again, like Denny Hamlin said. I don't listen to podcasts or whatever, but I did hear him say that on YouTube or something on his podcast. And he was dead on that. I mean, if the Clash has 10 cars in it, the Clash has 10 cars in it. I mean, the same people that are going to tune in for that are going to tune in for 10 cars. It's the same. I will die on that hill. The people that want to watch it are going to watch it, and I'm just going to stop right there on that.
All right, you get one word. Well, you get two words to answer this question. Playing devil's advocate here. Okay. L.A. Coliseum points race or another road course to replace Fontana.
Do I get to pick the road course?
We get in New York.
What do you mean, New York?
Had also heard on some things I've seen on Twitter that they're exploring a possible New York City street course,
Oh,
depending on how
lovely.
Chicago goes.
Just
Yeah.
lovely. Okay. Let's go with my idea, which is instead of LA Coliseum, let's just do oh my, I can't think of the name right now. Um that track in North Carolina, that's Bowman Gray. That's what I mean. That's what I want. That's my 2 word answer. Bowman Gray.
So let me give you my solution for a track in North Carolina. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Let's get rid of Fontana. Obviously, it's going away. We don't know to what extent. Get rid of Fontana. Let's make North Wilkesboro a point race and
Yep,
move the All-Star race to Rockingham,
sounds great. With
or vice
play.
versa. Let's make Rockingham a points paying race, and let's keep it in the All-Star North Wilkesboro. While we're at it, let's just go ahead and nuke Texas.
Texas needs to go.
Well, all in all, man, I hate to see that track go. It's
Yeah, no, I would not advocate to leave that track. Not with, but I mean, if they're going to pave it, what they need to do is they need to figure out what made that track great and do it to Michigan, because Michigan
yeah,
is not it, as people say.
no, I really don't.
I
I
wish
get
Michigan was
why.
leaving instead.
I get why they're doing it. LA is growing the way that it is, and it's that land has so much value out there. It's
Oh no, you can't fault NASCAR for selling it for
right,
that price. Not at all.
but it's just one of those things. It's Texas and Michigan, and Michigan really isn't the worst track on the schedule. I mean,
No, Texas is,
yeah. I mean,
but
Michigan's down
I
there.
bet you, I'm willing to bet money the Chicago Street Course will take its place. Road America was atrocious last year, so actually Road America was worst. But
We've
and
got
NASCAR's
entirely too
answer to
many road
moving to
courses.
Wisconsin's Milwaukee Mile, which Milwaukee Mile in short and stock car racing has not really bode well. But we'll see.
I just, I don't know, man. There's just
I want to see
short of
IRP
going
on the Cup schedule.
short of going to places twice. I mean, we're starting like unless we start going short track, and we're starting to run out of tracks to go to. Like, as bad as that sounds.
I want to see IRP on the Cup schedule. That's what I want to see. Also, I want to throw this out there. I don't care how boring it is. I'd much rather see uh, the race at the big oval at Indy over the road course. The road
Oh,
course
no
is
doubt.
a failure, in my opinion, even though last year's Allmendinger win was chaotic as it gets. This year's was too. It's not the same. Maybe a second race at Indy if you want to do it. But of course, you can't draw 5,000 people to the race, so they're not going to do that.
I'm not gonna lie, man. Between Ross Chastain doing what he did last year and the curb coming up in 2021, I mean, Indy Road Course is delivered on chaos.
Yes, it has.
I mean, I can still remember the text thread that we had to this day. Just the absolute chaos that just ensued in 20. Oh my
I
god, that
was
was
on my way to see John Cena in Columbia. I missed it.
yeah,
To rely on you.
it was insane, man. It just kept piling and piling in. I don't know, man. I really don't know the answers. I know what my answers. Get rid of these road courses. For the love of God, do not add another road course, please.
I think the perfect amount of road courses. Sonoma, even though Sonoma hasn't put on a good race in a while, but still Sonoma,
Watkins Glen.
Watkins Glen. You can keep the Roval. There's nothing really wrong with the Roval, and I like Coda. And I think Road America should be an Xfinity Series race. Um, the rest is overkill.
Now, let me ask you this. And I know, well, it's honestly not a terrible idea. It's our main
I would
market.
like to see Montreal actually.
Would you be okay with getting rid of, let's say, Coda, putting the Roval in its place, and then bringing back the Bank of America 400 in the playoffs, going to Charlotte three
No,
times?
unless the Charlotte Oval's going to deliver another year in a row, which I don't think it will, because that was such an anomaly last year.
That was
If it's
absolute
actually a
chaos.
good race again this year, I'll say yes, but we'll
Do you
see.
have any plans on going to that one?
Do I have plans on going to that one? I don't
Yeah,
know.
will the Burnout be live on location?
It should be live on location somewhere for sure.
I'm not gonna lie, man. That
Lakeview
hotel
Motor
that I
Speedway
had,
Saturday night.
I get offered a Jello shot. That was Dylan, or not Dylan,
Dylan
Florence.
too. There you go. I hadn't forgot about
Um,
Dylan. Put
um,
cup out, Dylan.
mm, mm,
Mm.
um, yeah. Now Charlotte, I'm looking forward to Charlotte, man. I hope. Say what you want about this mile and a half, but this next gen car has delivered. The short tracks is where I'm a little bit nervous. With that being said,
Oh,
I will be
I'm
in
very nervous for
attendance
the
to
short tracks. Very,
Martinsville
very nervous for the short tracks.
for this spring race because Kyle Busch is doing double duty. He will be pulling the trucks in addition to his regular Cup Series duty. And on that subject, I heard a rumor from certain podcast hosts that may or may not be on this podcast with me now. Kyle Busch is doing triple duty this weekend at Vegas. Trucks, Xfinity for Colleague, which, if in case you were wondering, I already have my Colleague gear. Got a 10 shirt and a Colleague Racing hat.
I'm
Colleague
honestly
Racing is
surprised they
great.
already made those.
They know what's up. Um, and the Cup Series race. I heard a rumor from somebody that heard a rumor from Reddit that Joe Gibbs did not allow Kyle Busch to run Xfinity because it interfered with a certain grandson. Do you think there's any truth to that?
Absolutely.
Or and him going out and running this triple duty weekend, I think kind of affirms that. Um, Truth be told,
Well, this is what I'll say to anyone that would disagree with that. Why didn't Ty Gibbs ever run a KBM truck?
that is very true. Um, that's very true. I don't know. I mean, there's some shady stuff going on over there. Stuff that probably
Kyle
won't ever
lost his
come out.
smile. He was Shawn Michaels in 1997 or 8, whatever it was.
And then he said it's time to go home, and he went home to RCR and won in his second points paying race, and here we are. Um, Man, honestly, um, I am ecstatic. He's going to get 10 races, well, 9 races. He's not going to do triple duty. Um, 9 races this year where he's pulling double duty at least once. Um, and Kyle Busch typically runs pretty well when he's given that opportunity. You could definitely see last year when he didn't run that Xfinity, when he wasn't running Xfinity, it kind of hurt him a little bit.
Yeah.
But I think this year, though, man, I think he has a chance to light the world on fire. I know you got your doubts, but man, I think it could be a really good year for RCR. I really do.
Well, I think we'll know. We'll know by the all. I mean, by the start of the year. I consider it the start until after the Coke 600. Once Coke 600's around, well, actually, starting with the Coke 600, you better be on your A game. So we'll know about then where everybody stands.
Well, before we go, let's make some picks for this weekend. I'm gonna be at Vegas. Um, Trucks, Xfinity, and Cup Series. Give me your top three for each.
My top three, okay, for trucks, I'm going with Kyle as the winner, Chastain in second, and Infinger or Ben Rhodes third. I'm going to go with, I
Haley
guess,
Deegan.
Infinger. I don't know why. It just seems to always work out that way when a cup driver's in the field.
No Haley Deegan in there.
Haley may finish ninth, and I hope she does. I hope she finishes really well.
Alrighty, Xfinity.
Well, you go for trucks.
Oh, is it even a question who I think is going to win the Cowbush first? I like Ross second. Um, I don't know, man. I'm kind of torn. I'd love to see Crafton pull one out, man. I really would.
Oh yeah.
But of course, actually, I'm gonna go with the surprise. Raja Caruth third. That's out
Okay.
there. That's out there. I like Raja Caruth, man.
All right,
Good
you go
guy.
first
Said
for
hey to us at
Xfinity.
Xfinity. Kyle Busch first. I don't know. Honestly, I don't see him
Sorry.
losing. Um, who's really impressed me? I'm not just saying it because he's an RCR driver. Sheldon Creed, with the exception of yesterday, I mean, he had decent speed. I think his strategy was absolutely horrendous. Or not Sheldon Creed. Sorry. Austin Hill. Austin Hills ran decent. Um, And third, I am going to say Algar, Justin Algar.
Okay. I'm gonna say that there's no way that Kyle Busch wins in a Colleague car that fast. Colleague hasn't showed speed enough to win on a mile and a half. And that's not going to change with Kyle in the car. They may finish top three, but I'm not even going to pick them to do that right now. I think the winner of the Xfinity race will be Josh Berry. I think second place will be Allgaier. And I think in third place, I'm actually going to go with the other RCR car who you said first, Sheldon Creed. Sheldon has a spinning wrecking problem, but I mean, they said it in the broadcast yesterday. His second season in ARCA, he won the championship, I think, after having a horrendous first year. The same thing in trucks. I I thought that last year, halfway through the year. I said, well, yeah, he'll be good next year, and I think he's going to. Sure he'll finish third.
That's fair. What about your Cup predictions?
Well, okay, so Cup predictions. I'm going with the person that should have won the race last year, probably Martin Truex Jr. I think he'll win. They showed a lot of speed Sunday, even though they had a bunch of problems. They showed excellent speed in the clash. I really think that he's due and he's going to win. I think second place. We're going to throw our old pal Alex Bowman in second place because why not? He won the race last year. We'll say he'll finish second this week. And in third place, I want to say Kurt Busch, but he's not in the field, so I'll stick with the 45 though, and I'll go with Tyler Reddick in a surprising third place. 'Cause I think he's last in points right now, but they need a good run, and I think they'll get it.
Now, let me ask you this regarding your first place pick. Um, are the penalties any different this year for losing a tire? James Small isn't gone, obviously, but do you think his crew losing some of his pit crew members are going
No,
to throw him off at all?
as somebody famous would say, that's peanuts to me.
I don't know, man. One late race pit stop
In
coming into
fact, and
over.
in that actually in NASCAR, you have a better chance to win if you have adversity. So
We'll see. Um, I don't know, man. I like Joe Logano. He's had really good speed this year, consistently. Um, I don't know. I really want to say Kyle Busch. I mean, I, I really think, really, 100% think he's got something to prove. And running that truck and Xfinity race, I think is gonna help him big time. I mean, we'll see. I'm gonna put Kyle Busch second. Um, third, I'm gonna say Larson. I don't know, Larson or Chase.
yeah,
Larson. Larson third. So I don't know, man. I think it's going to be a really good weekend of racing. Vegas is a really good mile and a half. Like we said, this new car has um, really put on a good show a mile and a half. So we got to fix our short tracks. That's obviously a big time problem, but
right.
I'm optimistic for a really good weekend of racing. I think it's going to be good, and unfortunately, we go to Phoenix next week. So let's enjoy this while it lasts.
Yep. Nope. I totally agree with you.
Well, hopefully, get a good weekend of racing. Probably not going to get it next weekend because Phoenix is absolutely horrendous. And then we get back to normal, and I will be at that Atlanta race in 2 weeks.
Nice.
Um, on that subject, not to get too far ahead. Um, actually, we'll come back to that later. You can cut that out. Um, you can cut it now. How do you want to wrap this thing up?
Well, I think that the best way to test our knowledge is to watch the races on Friday night, Saturday, and Sunday. We'll see who the top three are. We'll find out next week if how we did. Well, actually, we'll find out in the race. Then we'll see what our predictions are for Phoenix.
Yeah, you better drink you a energy drink. It's gonna be a late night Friday night. So be a good time.
NASCAR's on. I don't need any energy drink. That is my energy.
Yee.
Yee.
All right, guys.
Yee.
We'll see you guys next week. Y'all have a good one.